Yo, what's up everybody? Michael here, and I am here today to talk to you about what I am doing with my Pod XT Pro tones. This is an old device, but I love this thing still. It's 17 years old now, I think, but I absolutely love this thing. It is a beautiful piece of equipment. A lot of people may not like it, but I do. So, I use it for all kind of stuff. Now, I am using some amp sims for recording and stuff as well now, but for live performances on my stream and stuff like that, I'm going to be using this thing probably almost exclusively. I've got a lot to go over though, so let's jump on into it. Come on over here. Now, the way the pod works is I have a floorboard. It's basically a controller for it. It's just a floorboard controller, and it's got several buttons on it you just stomp on. So you can change your banks easily. It has 32 banks with 4 sub banks each. So I think there's 128 complete possible tones that you can have. And what you can do is, say you have a song that has very specific sounds in it, and then you've got a bunch of other songs that have the same exact sounds in it. You can change your tones easily by going to a different bank. Say, for if I'm playing just with an acoustic steel guitar, a live performance, or recording, whatever, I can go in here and just have those 4 sub banks at my foot at any time. And then I can change the bank for a different song if I want to, or a different instrument if I want to. And it's easy to do. It's best to set it up for a live setting though. And with the Pod XT Pro, I can go over, and on my old desktop, I have it hooked up to it with, it is called Gearbox, Line 6 Gearbox, and it allows me to actually edit everything that's on there. So it's really cool. It allows me to record and change my tones without ever touching the actual unit if I want to. So what I've got set up though, and this is just something I wanted to go over a quick look into what I'm doing, because I've always had people tell me they love the old series I've done on the Blissful Misery site, or not site, but the Blissful Misery YouTube, and the old Unbounded Productions YouTube, where I done stuff like this and showed what was going on. So what I'm doing is I'm going to have a bank of for acoustic steel string acoustics. Because I don't use a microphone to record my acoustics year round, I need a way to plug in and get a decent sound, so that's what these will be. And then I will also be able to use this for a live performance. Each bank can contain a complete live performance in it. So the second bank right now that I've got planned out is for my classical or my nylon acoustic, and it will be mainly for recording and stuff. But the way that I've got it set up, both of these actually, there's a pure one that's just pretty much no cab on it, and it just amplifies the signal a little bit so that you can get the signal going through to the DAW a little bit better and a cleaner, and it just cleans up the signal a little bit to do it the way I'm talking about, but it doesn't color it too much. So then for both of them, there's going to be like a rhythm, a lead tone, and then a solo tone. So that'll be something I'm interested in doing and getting those set up. Then going down to the third bank. Now with the fourth bank, it may be split into 2 banks, so I don't know for sure if the next one will start here at 5 or not. But this is specifically for the AV suite, the art video suite release that I done, and this will be for recording the other songs in it besides Phantom Lake and adding new songs in that style. The acoustics, it'll be 2 acoustics that are nylon, 2 that are steel string, and then 1 rhythm, 1 lead of each, basically a tone for those. So the AV Suite Electric, like I said, I may have a second bank of 4 sub-banks of it, and it would be for basically the live versions of, or recorded or live versions. It would be a rhythm guitarist and a lead guitarist basically for that. And I would probably not want to do a third bank, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, a third bank for that in a minute. But I am working on adding some new elements to each of the songs of those 4 songs, and I'm actually going to add there's another song that actually is going to fit really good with this, and then I have another song that may fit with it as well. If I'm going to just call it dumbing it down, but taking out stuff from it, simplifying it. I think it'll work really well. So again, I may end up going in and that would be the acoustics I'm talking about. With the electrics, this is going to be upgrading these songs to the full band versions, and what I may end up doing is, instead of even having this one, is just using the next bank, which is the Blissful Misery bank, and it's 3 banks of tones, and then there's 3 banks of Black Misery tones. Now, if you don't know, Blissful Misery was my band, and then while still doing Blissful Misery stuff, I started a second band called Black Misery that was kind of like a side project of Blissful Misery. It was heavier stuff and darker stuff, and that's why it went from basically anything that was in Blissful Misery was called the blue version, and then anything that was in Black Misery was the black version. That's just why if you look at my SoundCloud, you'll see Black Misery blue version. That's because that was the Blissful Misery version of it. Basically, what happened with a lot of the songs that I had black and blue versions of was the blue version was in standard tuning, and then the black version was on a 7-string guitar, and it used it as, it was still played or adapted to 7-string in a way that was kind of like a baritone way. So it really dropped the tone of it and everything. So that's what I have those for now. If you look here, I've got RG, LG, and SG, and what that stands for is rhythm guitars, lead guitars, and then solo guitars, or rhythm guitarist, lead guitarist, and then single guitarist, basically. So what this is going to do, this Blissful Misery Bank 1 is, for the rhythm guitarist, is a acoustic sounding clean. The next one is a more lead clean, but not like a solo. It's more of a crisper electric sounding clean, basically. Then there is the rhythm, and then there is a distorted lead, but not a solo, really. It can be used for solos if I maybe pop on a compressor or something like that. So it'll work out however I want to do it when I set it up. The lead guitarist section, or bank, the way it works is it will have one clean lead, or one clean tone, which can also, as I said, just throw on a compressor to boost it up a little bit, and it will be more for a lead. But then you've got your rhythm distortion for that, your leads distortion, which is like if you're harmonizing or anything like that, and then the full-blown solo. So the single guitarist is straight up for performances, and what this will do is basically I'll have a clean tone, I'll have a rhythm guitar tone, a lead, what I call a lead rhythm, and then the solo, the full-blown solo. So that's how I'll have that set up. Most likely it will be the clean acoustic tone, where I can just step on something and get a more of a lead tone out of it. So same thing for Black Misery, but there wasn't a lot of clean stuff in Black Misery. So there was clean stuff, but it wasn't to the same extent. And it's just going to follow the way that I had Black Misery stuff set up, and it's mostly going to be a rhythm distortion, a clean tone, a rhythm distortion, a rhythm lead, or just say a clean tone, a rhythm distortion, a lead distortion, and a solo distortion for all of these. Now, the rhythm guitarist section will probably have some sort of, maybe like the Blissful Misery section, just a different clean tone instead. I don't know how that's going to work out. So that will cover the majority of the songs from those two eras. Now, I have some songs that they have specific things on them, and it's very hard to get those by using just stepping on an extra button here or there. Basically, it's very hard to get the tones I actually want. So I have a bank for each of those songs, and I'll add a bank for any new songs like that. There's Cold and Frozen, which is for cold and frozen in time. They both use the same thing. Also, if I ever cover So Cold by Breaking Benjamin, this is the setup that I use. It will have the signature cold tone. It will have a lead clean tone. It will have a rhythm tone, and then a solo tone. Now, Lunacy is from the first album, The Madness, as well as Cold, and it was a very odd song, but I loved it, and we loved playing it. And it's got it's almost like a phaser in a way, but it's a very prominent, I can't think of what it's called. It's not a phaser. The other one. Oh, man. Yeah. The thing that makes it sound like an airplane taking off. I cannot remember what that effect is called right now. I know it's a pink pedal that I used, but it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't say it. So anyway, it's got that on it, and all of the stuff is set up for that song. It'll have a rhythm. I'm going to add a clean tone to this as well, to one of them, because this will be used for other stuff as well. It's not used in Lunacy, but it will be used for that. And then there is going to be just a leads tone, and then the full-blown solo tone. What separates these is flanger. It's a flanger. They all have flanger on them. And chorus. So flanger and chorus basically make a phaser, but what this does is, the way that I've done it was I actually used a bottleneck slide to play parts of Lunacy, the solo, and it was really fun, and it has to be able to capture the bottleneck slide properly. So with that, so the next song was a song called Monster. It never was finished, like the music wasn't finished, but it was the tone is on my old amp in there, and I've got to go in there and try to get the tone off of it and figure out how to duplicate it as best I can into the Pod XT Pro. That amp has one setting on it that is super weird, and I called it that tone a Monster, and that's where the name of the song come from, because that's where we got the tone from it. So it was really odd. It's kind of like a flanger and a phaser and chorus and delay and a octaver and some sort of other weird pitch shifting and all of this weird stuff. It's just wild. So I'll have a bank set up for that. The next thing is Ghost Ship, which is kind of like think of a mix of Monster, Lunacy, or just think of a mix of Cold and Lunacy, and that's what Ghost Ship pretty much was. It doesn't sound like Monster did, but it was another thing that was just sort of a Monster tone itself. It was really odd, but it was something that I really wanted to have specifically for that song, and I do want to work on those songs, so I want to go on and try to get that. I do have these tones already in the pod. I just have to place them in the right place probably, and then tweak them a little. So then we got Phantom Acoustic and Phantom Electric. Now the difference, and I may be able to not even do this at all, I might not have to make these, but the difference in the AV version up here and these is simply the creepy. Phantom Lake, which is on the Art Video Suite, it has this old record player wobbliness to it, and it makes it freaking creepy. And that's what I love about it, the way that it's supposed to sound, and it does make it creepy sounding. So I'm going to try to get that on the other one and see if it works, but this is how it'd be set up. And then again, the Phantom Electric would be exactly like the AV Electric, but just have the creepy on it. So and then I've got banks that are blank here. There's 32 banks of 4 sub blank banks each, and so 17 to 31 are all blank right now. And then I'm going to have down at 32, I'm going to start putting my bass in. I'm going to have a bass. I need to do this for acoustic sounding bass, pick bass, finger bass, and then slap bass. Basically, now the acoustic bass one here is not going to be actually an acoustic. It's just going to be made to make my amp sound acoustic, to make it sound more hollow and acoustic. So I found that you can do that with most guitars and even with basses, is that you can give them an acoustic quality. So since I don't have an acoustic bass, that's what I'm going to do. Now all of these that are blank, I know 2 of the sub banks will have a clean tone and an electric or a distortion tone for specifically for the song "Gone Away" by Offspring. I've already developed them, or developed the one of them, the distortion, and it's really good. I love it. And then the rest of them are probably going to have 1 or 2 tones, 2 to 4 tones each per band. So I have in the past covered Metallica, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Nemo, 3 Doors Down, Black Sabbath, AC/DC. So if I want to play something like that just for fun, I want to have these tones around. So we'll see how that goes, but that's going to be that. This has turned out to be a 20-minute video, so I want to go on and jump off of here, but that was my plans for that, and I hope that I can get this done soon. The rest of the blanks are going to be set up for, let me put it this way, 31 may be a second set of bass amps, but then above 31 for just a few banks would probably be like the cover banks, and then the other banks in between are just going to be stuff where I just set and develop new tones. I just play with this or that, and I just develop a new tone playing directly through it and just on the front of it, and then, just working on it that way. But anyway, that is that. And if you have watched through all of this, thank you very much. I much appreciate it, and I will see y'all next time. If you like my content, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.